This is what we see standard, left and right, every day. And now these days it's even worse because reporters are doing this. They're holding their cell phone and doing this.
Welcome to the Next Level Journalist, where you will hear from some of the best journalists in the business or who have been there, done that, and willing to share with you what they've learned so you can get better, faster. My guest today is the Director of Storytelling at NBC7 in San Diego. He's also an educator of his craft, hence his name that's in the box below. Joe Little, thank you so much for making time for this today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, man. It's not always nice to talk about myself.
Well, listen, when multiple people brought your name up, and these people I consider among the best at their craft, one's in Washington, one's in Florida, so we're talking two completely different sides of the country, and both said your name. So I was like, all right, not only am I going to look this guy up, and once I did, I was looking forward to learning from you. A lot of this stuff, I tell people all the time, this is for aspiring journalists, but at the end of the day, I think we should all be aspiring to do our best. And, I'm still in the video production game, so I have no doubt that you have plenty to teach, not only the people who see or hear this, but I'm excited to learn for myself. I've seen your resume, so I'm super excited about this. So if you will, take us down, give us a rundown, if you will, of your TV career journey.
My TV career journey. Well, the TV way back yonder when I was a young man who was a lot thinner than I am now and more hair. I fell into George Mason University, which is not exactly the broadcast journalism powerhouse of a Syracuse or a Mizzou or an Arizona State, but it was there that I got this bug for video production. Strong love for carrying the camera and the tripod and creating videos. However, I still wanted to be a sports reporter. At the time, Sports Center was king. Everyone loved Sports Center, and I wanted to sit next to Dan Patrick in Bristol. So after George Mason, I matriculated at Syracuse University to get my master's, but also get the journalism training, get that training for that business. And Syracuse was known as Sportscaster U because half of ESPN went to Syracuse, and half the guys on television men and women you hear talking about the sports went to Syracuse, including Mike Tirico, who's doing the Olympics, and Bob Costas. but it was at Syracuse where a brilliant professor named Hub Brown said, "No, you're going to go do news. You're going to go do news because you'll have more opportunities. You'll be able to tell a much broader style of story, topic." And so I did. From Syracuse, where I got my master's, I went to the thriving metropolis of Hagerstown, Maryland, NBC 25.
Nice. You came prepared.
I came prepared all the time. So I spent a year there. My first one-man band job at the time. There was no cool MMJ or MSJ or backpack. You were a one-man band. Go out there and suffer with a big-ass M2 and go tell stories. And I loved it. If that job paid more than $15,000 a year, I probably never would have left. I absolutely loved it there. Spent a year there as a bureau reporter and as the morning anchor. Then I went to the Triopolis of Johnstown Altoona State College in central Pennsylvania, which was a very tough place to be during my career because it was just tough. We were at the most broke station. We didn't have a live truck. It was just taping things together as you went along. But it was a good learning experience. I was the first reporter at the crash of United Flight 93 in Shanksville, Pennsylvania on September 11th. But after 2 years there, my wife graduated. We went to Central Pennsylvania for her career, for her grad school. After she graduated, we went to San Diego, and I've been in San Diego since 2002. I've worked at KNSD, a cable affiliate, and KGTV during that time. And then now I'm back at KNSD, the NBC affiliate in San Diego. I've been here since 2018, and I'm probably going to die at my desk. And that's my career.
San Diego is not a bad place to to be. I've been there. My wife and I have been there before. Not a bad place to call home.
I get to visit a lot of people because vacation people are like, well, where do we want a vacation? We can't go to Tahiti. Let's go to San Diego. It's
Yeah.
always sunny.
Yeah. Well, I know there's so many different routes we can go with this. I want to touch on before I ask you about how you broke through and whatnot, but let's address the name and obviously what you do outside of, yeah, I guess outside of TV, right? You teach.
I teach. In like 2009 or 10, I can't remember exactly which year, but I was doing these creative stand-ups and live shots that I didn't know exactly. I didn't put any thought into why or how I was doing them. I was just doing them because they came to my head, and I was like, oh, this will be good for the story.
Yeah.
And over the year, I put together like a highlight sizzle reel, if you will, and put it on this thing called YouTube. And I sent the link to my old boss in Hagerstown, Maryland, because he's really the one who sort of opened the door and said, Joe, I want you to go have fun with this story. Go be creative. He told me purposely, I want you to go outside the box. And that sort of stuck with me forever. And so I sent him this sizzle reel. He shared it with his assistant news director, who shared it with this guy I had never heard of named Al Tompkins in Florida.
Wow.
And Al calls me up and says, Hey, Joe, I'd like to do an article about you. I'm like, Cool, sure. No one's ever done an article about me. And a couple of weeks later, there's this article in Pointer. And then all of a sudden, people start calling me left and right, asking for me to speak at their conventions, speak to their classrooms in colleges and whatnot about improving their time on camera. And I never really reverse engineered what I was doing. So it sort of forced me to think about how my methods were, what I was doing, how I put it from thought to tape or thought to digital now.
Right. Right.
Um, and so people started recruiting me to teach. That led to the National Press Photographers Association in Norman, Oklahoma. They called me up, and apparently they were scouting me, if you will, saying, "Oh, this guy, he does some fun lectures. Let's invite him to our massive workshop in Norman, Oklahoma, to teach at the NPPA News Video Workshop and teach the on-camera portion to our people who show up." And it was there then at the NPPA News Video Workshop that I sat and watched all the other faculty members, the Matt Mrazinskis, the Les Roses, the Julie Jones, the Lisa Berglunds, who just they taught me to be better. And I was like, okay. I started applying all this to my job. But as an MMJ, you really have to be on top of your game to pull this stuff off. And so I started reverse engineering all that stuff to teach to MMJs and traditional crews under deadline. Um, and so now, over the past few years, I still teach in Oklahoma every March, but I also teach at TV stations across the country. I teach at colleges, anyone who is willing to pay me. I don't ask, I don't go out there and say, hey, call me up. I'll come out there and teach. I'm a whore for money. Kind of am. If someone calls and offers, I gladly go, and I love teaching. Absolutely love teaching because one, it makes me a better journalist. It makes me work harder at my craft because no one wants to like show up in San Diego, turn on the news, and say, "I want to see Joe Little's story," and it's dog turd that day, and it does happen. There are days where I'm like, "Hey, we're just gonna get through today." But most of the time, I try and bring it strong every day, and teaching makes me better, and I absolutely love giving people tools that if I can give them one tool that makes their job easier or their story better, it's a success. If I can give them two or three or 10, then it's great for me. Because one of those guys is going to be my boss one day. I'm never going to be a news director. I need them to like me.
Yeah. I hope whoever just listened to this, watch that, hits pause, goes back and watch it again because we could unpack so much. I love how you talk about reverse engineering. You start with the end in mind. I love that. That's what I try to do myself, and it makes things easier when you do that. Start with that end in mind, and the fact that you're
Especially,
always go ahead.
especially when it works.
Yeah,
And there are days where I get lucky. I mean, we've all hit record and something happened like,
sure.
"Whoo!" Or we're like, I'm gonna just try this edit right here, and that edit hit right, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, well, I got lucky there. Let me reverse engineer, see what I did there to see if I could replicate that again. And when you
yeah.
reverse engineer the successes and see why they work, that's when you start realizing and putting ideas into formulas and formulas that you can share with someone else.
Yeah, and what I was going to say, about that aspiring to get better. Here you are. according to your bio, 17 Emmys, and I don't drop that often because most people I talk to have Emmys, but it's safe to say you probably have the most. I mean, I don't, I wasn't given a tally of everybody's, but the fact that you are always still working at your craft and you are always trying to get better, and you're not hoarding it to yourself, you're sharing it with everybody, and I just think that's so incredible. I mean, people can get better faster simply by listening to what you have to say.
Yeah, I think Michael Driver definitely has more than me. I have 19 now. I should update my bio, but Michael
Okay,
Driver, I think he has like 79,000 Emmys. That guy is
he's
the
so
most
impressive.
talented. He's the most talented Southerner I've ever seen. I swear. But he's Driver is insane. He is the most one of the most talented guys I've ever seen. But the thing about the teaching and paying it forward is that
Mhm.
I wasn't smart enough when I was a young journalist and reporter to go and find a mentor, to go ask for help.
Me too.
I was never smart enough to say I was maybe it was pride, ego, fear
Hmm.
of being shamed by someone
Hmm.
saying you that sucked. That story was really bad. I
Hmm.
wasn't smart enough to go ask for help. And so now whenever anyone asks for help, absolutely I'm going to give it to them because one, I know they're going to be better than me.
Hmm.
And two, when it comes to the continuously teaching myself, I'm 44. I've got at least 21 more years of in this business. God help me. Um, and I know these young kids coming out of college are going to be more. Their DNA is already wrapped around all the new technology when they start the business, and I need to
Right.
make sure I continue to learn the new crafts, the new techniques to make keep myself relevant. Because Lord knows what our business is going to look like in 21 years. I mean,
Right.
are we going to be doing shooting on holograms? Who knows? So I have to continuously learn to keep myself relevant, whether it's be doing long form pieces for OTT and for streaming, or if it's still the day to day grind on the streets with television.
Yeah. So before I get too far from this question, I want to ask you, how is it you broke through into the business?
A truly traditional route. I
Okay.
mean, I did the college thing, did the grad school thing. At grad school, I put together my television reel,
Yep.
and I will say that I know people have sent out 50, 60, 70, 100 resumes, and still struggle to get a job. I was really lucky, but I was really focused on the one certain areas. I only sent out 5 resumes,
Wow.
got one interview, got that job, and got lucky. Uh, the second job search was 3 resumes, got one
Yeah.
interview, one job. The trip down to San Diego was a lot harder. I was not ready for San Diego, but we went because my wife at the time had an incredible job
Hmm.
that paid way more than anything we do in this business. So we went, and I
Yeah.
just climbed the ladder there. But I got like I'm a very different cat. I know some people struggle to find jobs.
Sure. Well, Syracuse, I mean, you go into a place like that, and that prepares you for anything, really, once you get into business. I was not exactly prepared. So, Driver and I crossed paths at WPSD. That was my first station. I believe it was his first station as well in Paducah, Kentucky. I was not prepared at all. I kind of slipped, I didn't kind of, I slipped through the cracks and somehow landed there. So, with that said, knowing what you now know now, what would you say to someone who's trying to break through and trying to catch that break? Not of course not everyone goes to Syracuse's or the Mizzou's or what would you say to someone who's again goes to that small town school who's trying to get that break? You think what they can do to try to separate themselves?
Well, the most important thing is have someone outside your school look at your resume because I've seen some resumes that were pretty bad,
Mm-hmm.
and I realize they're coming out of college, but some of these students are being taught by professors who have not been in the game
Mm-hmm.
for in decades, like years. They've not been active in the current journalism world, and you see the college's resumes. I see this one resume where it's a reporter standing there, this stand up in front of a building, this stand up in front of a field, this stand up in front of a car, this stand up in front of a horse, and it's the same different day. It's the same thing over and over again. But then you see the college student who's being active and demonstrative in their resume. They're using the background. They're giving you different perspectives in their stand-ups. The stand-ups look different. Or they're brilliant. They're adding their Facebook Live videos to their stand-up montage because that's important. This digital world that is not natural for someone my age. I wasn't raised on the internet, but it's something that we have to include. So if it's a dirty, grimy, you know, Facebook Live video that shows this person like, I just showed up on scene here. This is what this is looking like. That's great stuff. That's creative. So it starts with your resume. If you don't have anyone looking at your resume to say, hey, this thing's a dumpster fire. You need to rework this a little bit before you embarrass yourself by sending it out to a news director. You're asking for trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And this also, maybe if you do it before send it out, there's maybe time to go shoot some more stuff, shoot some
Right.
more creative stuff to add to your resume. The second thing is starting in this business. This business especially is hard. It's not a pretty industry that we work in. We're talking Hagerstown, Maryland, Armpit, Iowa, Elbow Butt, Idaho. I mean, the places that you would never voluntarily go to unless someone said, "I have money for you. I will give you a 2-year contract, and that way you can go on to the next station."
Right.
So you need that first station, that first market is so important. I always tell people, look at a map of the country, pick your goal. Where do you want to end up? Cool. Now, around that eventual target, whether it be New York City, Chicago, LA, network, San Diego, where do people that are your family or truly good friends that you can sort of call an anchor home? Like say you want to come to San Diego eventually, like this is your end game, San Diego. Draw a circle of driving distance. There's Yuma, Palm Springs, Bakersfield, Eureka, California. There's a lot of small markets around here. Now, if you have any family members in there, apply to those jobs in those places where you have an anchor home, where you can go for a warm meal or wash your clothes without going to a laundromat. Those little anchor family, that support structure is so important. Because I've seen people who live in San Diego who want to get back here go to like nowhere, Nebraska, and they're miserable. They struggle and they flame out because they don't have a good support structure, or they're just not. You have to be mentally tough,
Mm-hmm.
and that's fine if you're not. But that's why having an anchor friend or an anchor family, someone you can go and just sit with outside the business and get that warm cooked meal, or have that shoulder to cry on. Because man, that first year especially is very tough. But if you can get into the station, and if you could make it through that first year, you're in. Once you're in, you're in. Getting there, and I would say, don't wait for a job opening. Don't wait for a station to say, we have an opening, because news directors don't play that game. They don't sit there and say, well, I'm not going to, I'm going to post this now and I have 2 weeks to hire some. No, they already know. They don't know when they're going to have a job opening. They don't know when someone's going to open up. And all news directors, good news directors, keep a file in their email system or on their desk of potential candidates. I saw this person send this in. I like their stuff. I'm going to hold them for the next job opening. So my point is, look at a map, find the markets that you want to go to, and then look at the markets that you are able and willing to go to, and apply to every single station that isn't a complete total dumpster fire. Do your research, find out who the news director is, and send them a personal email. Apply blindly without any job posting. If there's a job opening, great, mention that. If there isn't a job opening, tell them what you can do for them, not what you want to do. Say, I can be this for you, and this for you. No news director really wants to hear you say, I look forward to coming to your station and learning from you. We don't want to teach you. We want you to come and bust your butt for us. Never say, I look forward to learning underneath your leadership. No, no. They want to say, I'm going to come to you and work my butt off for you. That's what they want to hear. I think that gave you like 17 tips in the worst run-on sentence.
And that's awesome stuff. So I'm gonna let you catch your breath because obviously so much we can unpack there. Hit pause, go back and watch what Josie said again. But I want to ask you, even though you touched on it, explain the name Gnome Slayer because you actually demonstrated what a Gnome Slayer is because you were showing the perspectives. So explain that for us.
Okay, all right. So television is full of cliches. And cliches are cliches because they're boring. We've seen them a million times, right? So, active demonstrative teaching session right now. All right, so we have a low angle shot here. So, most television people, especially in Los Angeles, God help us all, this is the traditional stand-up that you see. Hi, I'm Joe Little, standing here inside my wife's office where she collect. Well, actually, they wouldn't just say. They would just say, I'm standing here at home talking to Kyle about television stuff. This is what we see standard, left and right, every day. And now these days it's even worse because reporters are doing this. They're holding their cell phone and doing this. As reporters, as we communicate with people home. We're supposed to basically just talk and be conversational with the people at home. And how is this? If Kyle and I were face to face through this lens or in person, how is this normal talking to someone? If you're on a date with someone and they keep looking at their phone and they're not making eye contact with you, they're not getting a second date, right?
Right.
And how am I supposed to be active and demonstrative if I can't point or if I can't pick things up because I have my cell phone in my hand and my stick mic in my hand? Use a lavalier. So easy. I don't have time to put on a lavalier. I don't have time to put on a lavalier. It's so burdensome and everything like that. I just don't have time. I have photographers say I can't use a lavalier in the wind. Bullshit. Oh, I don't know if there's rated R on this. Sorry, you might have to edit that out. Yeah, that took me 14 seconds to put the lavalier on. And get rid of this. You don't need it. If you don't know the information well enough, then what are you doing? You're not an authority on the story. Now,
Right.
look, I can talk and be normal. I can reference the fact that I'm in my wife's bedroom office. This is my wife's office, and she collects Superman garbage. That's a Superman curtain. Everything on that roof up there is Superman stuff. It's hard for me to demonstrate that if I'm doing this. Like, so if you
Right.
look up there, it's just, this is bad television. Standing there, guarding the building, ignoring your background, doesn't move the story forward. If we're going to be on television for 10, 15 seconds, it has to matter. It has to move the story forward. And the thing about it is as I'm standing here talking with you, Kyle, you and your viewers are probably looking like, what is it behind Joe? There's so many distractions. And in this room, it's like, it's crack of distractions. There's just crap everywhere. So it's distracting. Same thing when you're on camera. Same thing. If you're standing there and there's something going on behind you, no, if you're not taking your clothes off or setting yourself on fire, the person is going to start looking at all 16 by 9 your background. They're going to start looking at this information. If you don't make it part of the story or draw the attention back to you, like I just did, like this is all Superman stuff. Well, now you're listening to me and looking at the visuals at the same time. It's removing the distraction and making it part of the story. A stick mic is an advertisement for your station. We don't do that. A cell phone is a guaranteed no second date. Get rid of that stuff. Be a human and use all 16 by 9 of your screen. I call these people garden gnomes. They just stand there talking, guarding the building, ignoring the world behind them. That's what a garden gnome does. They just stand there and ignore it. My goal in life is to liberate the planet. It's my goal to liberate the planet of
Wow.
all mic flags and stick mics. They're not, you don't have to use it. This is my toy.
I love it.
I
Yeah.
have hundreds of mic flags that I've liberated from the planet, from people who just don't, send them to me and say thanks, Joe.
Right.
It's just so my goal is to kill all the gnomes. All the gnomes. I'm here to slay all the gnomes. That's my like big platform for running for president. As president, I will remove stick mics from the planet. Now, the people will say, "Well, stick mics are a necessary tool," and I say, "Yes, they are, but we don't need to see them.
Yeah.
You don't need them." Well, what if I'm interviewing someone live? You have a second lavalier? No, I don't. Yeah, you can borrow one. You can plan ahead and borrow a second lavalier.
Right.
When you have a conversation with someone, and I'm not trying to do this with you, Kyle, you know, it starts getting normal when you guys can both talk with your hands, point and move around. The microphone, the stick mic, keeps you grounded, and it doesn't make you natural.
Right.
By putting that lavalier on and talking with your hands, that makes us natural. That makes us we can relate to the viewer better at home. Wow, you just triggered me there, man. Wow.
I love it. No, yeah. So don't be a yard ornament is what we're here. That's great stuff, Joe. Thank you for elaborating because, like I said, you demonstrated it before by giving different perspectives and whatnot. But I know people would be wondering, well, what's gnome celebrity? So thank you for clarifying that. Two quick questions, if we can. It won't be quick, but I'm going to try to. Storytelling is obviously among your fortes. If you could take us through your thought process, how your mind works when you approach a story.
When it comes, there's a difference between a report and a story. A report is a data dump. You just get information, facts, and facts and facts. Now, when I was sitting in school and someone's throwing fact and fact and fact at me, I might maybe retain one of the most important facts, but it's tough because you're in a minute and a half, sometimes only 20 seconds. We're trying to give these people facts and facts and facts, and it's hard to retain because it's just a data dump. However, if you take that fact and you support it and you wrap a story around that fact, people can retain that information better. Why? Why do you remember things, Kyle? I think I heard a baby in the background.
Emotionally, you feel it. Yeah, you aim for the heart, right?
You as make me feel something. If you make me cry, laugh, if you make me mad,
Yep.
I will remember the information tied to that fact a lot more. You don't remember Tuesday of last week, but you remember Tuesday when your daughter or son scratched their knee, or you remember that time you got into a car accident. You remember holidays because there's emotion tied to it. You don't remember Thursday, but you remember Thursday when you kissed a girl for the first time.
Hmm.
You remember things because there's emotion tied to it. Why not take emotion, an emotional character, and tell a story about that fact? Potholes. Every city deals with potholes. They're annoying. City's going to spend $2 million on repairing potholes. Well, instead of interviewing the mayor and the guy filling the potholes, go find the dude who lives on the worst road in the. Go find the guy who lives on Kosovo Road, where it's just pothole, pothole, pothole. It feels like you're going off roading, and drag that guy out of his house, put a lav on him, and say, "Hey, man, tell me about your road." Oh, dude, this road sucks. You're gonna get the viewer's attention a lot more.
Yeah.
If you can get a real character, a real emotional character, and they don't have to be like screaming, foaming at the mouth. They don't have to be crying. They don't have to be the funniest person in the world. But if they're a real person, an authentic person, they're going to relate to the viewer at home a whole lot more than the city council person or the police officer who frankly has forgotten the ability to speak like a human. Take take that real person and let them tell the story. Let them set up the facts. Still do the journalism, still get the facts, but put those facts inside an emotional character's world and let them tell the story. That's
That's
my
awesome.
whole basis for storytelling.
That's great stuff, Joe. Again, I want to respect your time. So the last one I'm going to leave up to you. So anything that you think that I haven't asked you that you think, this audience, someone who's going after their first job or their next job, trying to get better, that you want to share, saying, I need to leave this with you. I share this at my conferences, or I don't. Whatever comes to mind. The first thing that comes to mind that you want to leave with this audience.
I think you already touched on it, Kyle. Never stop learning. Never stop working on your craft, especially if you're an MMJ, MSJ, backpack journalist. Keep working at your shooting, keep working at your editing, keep working on your writing, and do what you are doing now. If you watch this video to this point, you are doing the right thing for yourself, for your newsroom, your producers, and your viewers. You're
Hmm.
trying to get better. And once you learn a new skill, go find the next skill, and the next skill, and the next skill, and then go back and try and make those things better. Never stop learning and never stop evolving. Our industry is moving at an incredible rate. It's
Hmm.
changing day to day. We don't know what it's going to look like in 5 years, 10 years. If you stay in your lane and not broaden your horizons, you're going to get stuck and you're going to be out of the business. You have to continue to evolve and continue to learn. Subscribe to Kyle's videos and watch them whenever they come out new. Go to conferences, talk to people who have been there, talk to younger people. I've learned so much from my younger people, especially about my digital side, because they're like, oh yeah, this is how you do it. I'm like, what the heck was that? Never stop learning, and Don't give up. Oh, someone's crying.
Yeah, she's actually been really good. I've got a 2-year-old and an 8-year-old, so
Woo!
they've been really good for the most part. So
I know, right?
I think that's the buzzer. So we're out of time.
Thank you,
Joe,
Kyle.
thank you so much for your time. It's been great talking to you, learning from you, and everything that you shared.
Good luck to you, and good luck to everyone who just watched this video.
And thank you for checking out this channel. If you found this content beneficial, I'd appreciate it if you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and share it with someone you think might find it beneficial as well, because this channel was simply started and created to serve you, to help others grow, to learn how other successful TV journalists do or did it. So take what serves you so you can get better faster and reach your next level.